Russian UN ambassador on NATO-Ukraine escalation. You will see the terrible Russia submitted to the UN documents on the crimes of Ukraine. Moscow and Kiev exchanged poems at a meeting of the UN Security Council on the Minsk Agreements. The UN Security Council held a meeting on the Minsk Agreements amid Western concern over the threat of a Russian invasion of Ukraine and a new aggravation in the Donbass. During the meeting, Russia stated the lack of Kiev's desire to resolve the conflict, urging other countries to abandon unfounded accusations against Moscow. However, at the event, the United States again announced the danger of an attack by the Russian Federation on Ukraine, advocating a peaceful settlement of the situation. How the meeting of the UN Security Council went, in the material of Gazeta.ru. A new meeting of the UN Security Council on the implementation of the Minsk Agreements was held within the framework of Russia's chairmanship in the organization's Security Council. The discussion was traditionally timed to coincide with the date of the conclusion of agreements on the settlement of the conflict in the southeast of Ukraine. This year they have already turned even years old. The meeting itself started with statements by the Deputy Secretary General of the organization, as well as representatives of the OSCE in the Trilateral Contact Group and the Special Monitoring Mission in Ukraine. All of them stated that there was no progress in the implementation of the Minsk Agreements, and the situation on the ground had worsened. Separately, the OSCE voiced problems with access to monitoring on the contact line of the parties due to the actual blocking of the mission. What does Moscow say? Moscow was represented at the meeting by Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Vershinin. In his speech, he focused on Ukraine's refusal to comply with the Minsk Agreements, citing as an example the statements of officials, including the words of Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba regarding the impossibility of dialogue with the DPR and LPR, although this is required by the agreements. 7 years later, none of the provisions of the package of measures by Ukraine has been fully implemented, starting from the first point of the ceasefire. The root of the problem is the systematic unwillingness of Kiev to enter into a direct dialogue with the authorized representatives of Donetsk and Luhansk in the contact group. Kiev has taken a course towards a complete rejection of direct interaction with the Donbass, the Russian representative noted. From Vershinin's point of view, Ukraine is also actively promoting the view that the Minsk Agreements are contrary to its national interests. Kiev is trying to present Russia as a party to the conflict and shift the responsibility for the fact that there is no progress in the settlement, although Russia is not even mentioned in the text of the agreements. At the same time, the minister pointed out that Moscow distributed among the members of the UN Security Council the materials of the investigative committee of the Russian Federation on the crimes of the military of Ukraine in the Donbass, including those related to the use of prohibited methods of warfare. I ask you to look at these materials and ask you to be prepared that you will see a terrible. Vershinin paid special attention to the inaction of Western states in terms of pressure on Ukraine in the context of the implementation of the Minsk Agreements. According to him, at least the ostrich position of his colleagues is extremely disappointing, as the growing sense of impunity is pushing Kiev to new excuses along the settlement track.